Hello and welcome to the NBL1 Show. A big weekend in NBL1 Hoops just wrapped up. We've got three teams still undefeated. Ballarat and Kilsyth in the men, Bendigo in the women, and a whole bunch to get through. I'm Liam Santamaria. No Cam Luke this week, but on the desk to break it all down, got Mark Worthington, of course, four-time All-NBL first-team player and man who stepped into the NBL1 commentary box over the weekend. How did you enjoy that?
I did. It was good. It was actually fun to go back and look at the NBL1 from a different set of eyes through the commentary lens. And I actually got to sit next to Cam Luke and listen to his docile tones as he does everything in the media at the moment. There's no busier man than Cam Luke at the moment. So it was actually good fun to go back and watch some basketball.
And of course, our man Lucas Waxy Walker, 9-year NBL veteran, and his man who's signed on with the Nunawading Spectres, made his debut in the NBL1 a couple of weeks ago. Welcome. And
thank you.
How did you enjoy stepping out there with the Spectres?
Yeah, it was good. It was a really busy day that day actually, because I'd just come back down from Cairns. And I got in late to Melbourne. I jumped in the car and I drove straight out to Nunawading and straight into the change room and threw a uniform on and just went out there and played 15 minutes. I was pretty puffed. It had been a long day and my back was a little bit tight, but it was good. I enjoyed it and we had a really good win, so it was a good way to start.
Obviously, you're in the middle of NBL free agency right now. You're dipping your toes into the 3x3 waters, doing really well, winning some cash and heading overseas soon to play in some tournaments. Why have you chosen to play in the NBL1 and why have you chosen to team up with the Spectres, which is a pretty stacked lineup and already have an import in your position?
Yeah, no, it is. And like you said, free agent at the moment, so I think it's important that I keep playing and stay in shape. And Nunawading's a great team, and they have been for such a long time. And I had a little bit to do with Dave with the Australian 3-on-3 stuff, and I gave him a call one day and said, "Hey mate, I just want to come and sort of blow the cobwebs out. Can I join you guys at practice?" And then they parted ways with an import, and there was a spot there that opened up, so it seemed like the perfect fit, really.
You're in the free agency market at the moment. Is there anything that you're looking to do with the Spectres to maybe develop your game even further, looking forward into the NBL?
I want to contribute, and they've had a really good team and a good core bunch of guys, and had some great success over the last 10 years. So for me, I'm just going in there to just try and be a piece of the puzzle, and if I can help out, then that's great. Personally, I'm not out there trying to score 20 points a game. I'm happy to come off the bench and happy to play a role there. It's more about sort of just, staying competitive and wanting to win.
Is the 3x3 vibe a bit of a part of it as well? Because, you want to be doing that at the moment. There's a potential pathway to play at the Olympics next year with that. And the Spectres setup is very friendly to that. It allows you to go off like you did last weekend with a couple of the guys, with Dave's involvement, allows you to go off to the Asia Cup coming up soon, whereas potentially if you join another club, you're kind of like their main man, they're relying on you. That could be a bit more of an issue.
Yeah, it is, and it's great that Dave's so understanding, with the other guys being on the I-Athletic team and travelling, and now we've got my 3-on-3 teams just qualified for 3 overseas tournaments. So there's that, and then the Asian Cup, as you mentioned. So Dave's great with that and understanding that that's something that we enjoy doing, and there's opportunities to win money as well, and to represent your country. So that was a problem that we had actually at the past tournament, was trying to find a fourth player and getting someone to basically get the thumbs up to leave wherever they were playing. And so not every coach is as lenient as Dave when it comes to that.
And your squad, without you, without Tom Wright, without Andrew Steele, went down on the weekend, lost to Frankston. It was a bit of a surprise result, even without those guys on the team's home floor. Were you able to watch it? Were you keeping tabs? Do you know what went down?
I was watching the live stats up there in Darwin. I saw it was quite close towards the end there, and then, obviously missing a couple of guys and maybe a few niggles from the guys that were playing, and they just sort of fell away there at the end in the last couple of minutes, which was unfortunate, but good to see that they gave it a real good shake for what they had. And credit to Frankston as well. They put a good squad together, and Coach Andrew Harms is a good mate of mine from back in the Dandenong days. So
and another Metro State boy.
There you go.
Yep.
So.
Were the Spectres this lineup. I'm on them. Kilsyth obviously undefeated. Ballarat undefeated. Kilsyth out and out the team to beat. Waxy mentioned Nunawading's success year in, year out. They're always amongst it in the finals. Do you think with the guys going out and coming back in all season long with the 3x3, how much of an impact does that have? And do you see them as legitimate contenders up against Kilsyth and Ballarat?
I think they're legit contenders. Obviously, there's that disruption that you don't like with any team with players going in and out. But the one thing that 3x3 does is it gives you another level of fitness that the rest of the players don't get, because if you've never played 3-on-3, it's a physical and it's non-stop for 10 minutes. And I think that fitness base probably will help them come finals time. Obviously, the one good thing about NBL1 is there is so many stacked teams this year. So when it does come down to the playoff time, A, you've got to be a little bit lucky, and B, what's your fitness base like? Because there's going to be those grueling games at the end of the season. Obviously, with the Spectres, they've got that to their advantage.
Is there someone from the squad at Nunawading that has taken you a bit by surprise how good they are? Because they've got a bunch of guys there that have been playing at a high level, but not necessarily in the NBL. And even the import, Dane Swatala's kind of like that, putting up big numbers at that level.
Yeah, no, I mean, across the board, there are guys there that I think are great, and there's some guys there that I am surprised haven't got an NBL look before, and you know, there's young guys there too that come in, and I mean, I haven't had a whole lot to do with the club yet. I've trained a couple of times, but the practices that I've been to, like, everyone goes really hard, and there's young guys all the way up to the older guys. Everyone's having a crack and got some good skills. So I think our depth is definitely a strength for us.
Whether you went down to the rings on, what was it, Saturday night?
Saturday night, I was at the rings.
You took in Ringwood and Eltham, commentated it on the NBL YouTube channel, and this thing went to double OT.
Yeah, well, first off, I have no idea how Eltham ended up losing this game. They had the ball with 4 seconds to go. There was an unsportsmanlike foul. They were up 2 points. They just had to get the ball in bounds and someone to get fouled, and they found a way to turn the ball over. And Eltham, they're led by Adam Doyle, and he's had a great season. They've just released Grandy Glaze as their import. So they probably haven't been as good as what you'd expect them to be, but credit Ringwood. Gibson was on fire. That man could not miss in the first half. He was kept a little bit quiet in the third, but there he is making the big play come the fourth to bring it into the second OT. And then our other man was Miller. Joey Miller controlled that game. He had a tough matchup against Doyle, but he just served his team up on a platter, and I think he ended up with about 13 or 14 dimes on the night and was probably unlucky not to get more. We thought he had more than that, but Miller was outstanding in that game, and he just served it up on the platter, but then he knew when to put the foot down and score a few baskets himself. And credit to Ringwood for coming back and win that game, and credit Joey Miller because he was massive.
We're going to talk about Grandy Glaze and his being released from his contract in a couple of minutes, but let's stay on Ringwood because I think they're flying a little under the radar. Roy Ward wrote today on the NBL1 website about how they've gone with that import backcourt, and Miller is Gibson's second in scoring in the league, averaging 25 points per game, something like that right now. And Joey Miller first in assists, averaging 18 and 8. They've brought in Adrian Sturt. They've got Fennell, who's been doing good things at that level for a long time.
Your lookalike, mate.
Is he?
He's a bit of your lookalike. We said it in the commentary, but he's a little bit. But the one thing about him, when you look at their group, they're unassuming. Sometimes you look down the other end. So you look down to the Eltham end, and they've got Sykes dunking everything in warm-ups. They've got Jeremy Mackay, who's just come back from college. They've got all these athletes, and you look down at the Ringwood end, and you're like, well, I'm not sure what this team actually brings to the table, but they come out and they run great sets. They're coached really, really well, and they were just consistent all game. Eltham lost that game, but Ringwood did enough to put pressure on them for the entire game to make them make mistakes at crucial times.
Right. And so I think they're 2-2. They've had two pretty good wins. That one the other night, and they beat the COE, who are tough this year. And 5 of their next 6 games, Ringwood, are against teams with losing records. And the one that's not is against Waverley, who's just above them on the ladder, 3 and 2. So I reckon they might be able to. Was that me? they might be ready to go on a bit of a run.
And it wouldn't surprise me. Like I said, the coaching of that group is really, really good. And the sets that they ran, they got easy baskets right near the rim. I think sometimes that's an underrated part of basketball is, can your coach get you the right shots in the right spots at the right time? And come the fourth quarter, end of fourth quarter and OT, they got so many open looks. So with that schedule coming up, I think we'll see them go on a little bit of a run here, and that's sort of the team that at the moment is flying underneath the radar that could do something special in NBL 1.
Waxy, you haven't played against them, but you have played against Eltham. That's the team. And Grandy Glaze, their import, released today. I'm going to try and bring up the quotes here from Greg Jeffers out there at Eltham after they've released him. He's been putting up big numbers, had a big game.
He had about 17 rebounds against Eltham the other day. This man's full of confidence.
Yes, gets him up.
There was no short, but just the way that he carries himself on the court. He was the guy that was constantly talking, a lot of swag out there. So it was surprising to me that they've decided to let him go.
Okay. As distinct to maybe some other people, someone else on the roster. Because I found it interesting as well, especially with the numbers he's been putting up. I've got it here somewhere. He's averaging 17 and 12 at 60% from the field, almost 60% from three. And the quote here is, whilst it's disappointing to have Grandy leave us so quickly, he has needs the net to be met, as do we. And decisions need to be made to suit everyone, and we believe we've done that, which is an interesting quote. Were you impressed with him when you played against him a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, I agree with you. A lot of energy and definitely a lot of swag and a lot of talk too. But yeah, he was super aggressive. He played hard the entire game and he put up pretty good numbers against us too. So, I mean, hearing that, 17 and 12 at 60% is...
So does that sound like a personality fit issue to you guys?
Well, the funny thing is, I thought he was off the court at weird times in that game.
Okay.
When I was like, this guy does a little bit of everything. He doesn't do anything great, I would say, but he does everything pretty good. He's a poor man's Draymond Green, if you like, because he could rebound, he could defend, he could score in the post, which was, you can do that in NBL 1. And then he just had energy. He didn't look like there was a disconnection between him and his teammates.
Right.
They actually sort of rallied around him and his energy and all that. So those comments are a little bit strange, but front officers are going to be front officers. You can spin it any way you want to make it sound like they're not the ones that's the problem.
For sure.
And I guess we'll never know.
Let's turn our attention to the women's side. I mentioned that there are 3 teams undefeated, 2 in the men. The other one in the NBL 1 is Bendigo, and they advanced to 6-0 with a massive win over Launceston, with an incredible performance from Kelly Wilson, who has been absolutely stuffing the stat sheet this season in the NBL 1. 23 points, 10 rebounds, and 20 assists as she just dimes up Gabe Richards and Payne and the whole crew out there with the Braves. They are rolling. I said on the show last week, I don't think they're going to lose a game all season. Chris Anstey didn't agree with me on social media.
I wonder why Chris didn't.
He probably thinks Dandenong's going to get a win over them at some stage. You think maybe they'll lose to someone else?
Yeah, well, first off, massive game from Kelly, and she's just re-signed with Bendigo as well, going back to where it all began for her. The team that I really like is Geelong. I just think they've got great length. Obviously, they've got the lineup with Blithcars, Mabega and Zatina. They're 3 really good athletes that can really shape a game and how it's played. They've lost 1 game already, but I really expect Geelong would be there right at the end and someone who could really push Bendigo around.
The thing I like about Bendigo is that they've got this stack lineup, which is basically a WNBL lineup. Got someone like Tessa Lavey heads off to Opal's camp. They don't miss a beat. But they're veterans. So you talk Kelly Wilson, Gabe Richards, Payne, Andrea Wilson. They're not... I think those girls, for the most part, they're going to be there all season. And in crunch time, when others are off doing 3x3 or at Opal's camps or things like that, these girls are going to be there just getting W's for Bendigo. And it sort of feels a little bit like Nunawading. I'm kind of right in that sort of veteran train. But 20 7 and 13 are Kelly Wilson's averages. How do you even put up those numbers?
Yeah, they're crazy numbers. Like, you got to be very happy with that. What was it, 20 assists?
Well, she had
on
20.
the
Yeah,
weekend
she had triple double with 20 assists.
Yeah, that's nuts.
I mean, it doesn't matter what level league that you play at. If you can score 20 plus points and pass out 20 assists, that means the ball is going through you a lot. And not only are you making plays for yourself, but you're making great plays for your teammates where it's put on a platter for them to score. So, massive game. Congratulations. Good luck versus Geelong.
Well, they play Geelong not this round 5, but in round 6, Sunday, May 12, in Bendigo. So we look out for that one. Now, there were two teams in the women who went 2-0 on the weekend. Geelong were those team, and also Cam Luke's team. He's on them as well. And also Hobart. Good couple of good wins for Hobart. But the one team I want to talk about who went 1-0, got a good win over Ballarat, who are yet to get a win on the board, but are getting better and better, is Knox, who are quietly making their way up the table. They started the season with a good win over Kilsyth. And this is a team, I think, that's maybe starting to put things together.
Well, they're a good team, and they did it this week without Lauren Scherf, who was their leading scorer. She's averaging 26, 6 and 3 this season. But the one thing I like about Knox is they're doing it by committee. They've got 6 people in double figures and one person averaging 9.8. So when you've got a team effort like that and able to score across the board, it makes it really hard to zone in on one person. Their one loss, however, came to who?
Supercats.
Geelong. All right. So obviously, I think they are a team on the rise. They're playing really good team basketball at the moment. It's going to be interesting once they start to play against those higher level teams like Bendigo. They'll see Geelong again. That's where their challenge is going to come from. But at the moment, you can't be upset with what they're doing. They're only playing what's in front of them, and so far they've been the goods.
Speaking of Knox, Waxy, you guys, your squad, trying to bounce back. You're going to be back in the lineup this week, but you mentioned you're playing against Knox, who seem in the men also, whilst they're struggling to get wins, 1 and 4 overall, they do look like they're starting to get it together. A bunch of new guys coming together under DMAC. But you mentioned you got a couple of guys banged up. Shane McDonald, Dwayne Swatala as well. I mean, are you guys, no Tom Wright, no Andrew Steele this week, a bit vulnerable perhaps this week against the Raiders?
No, I don't think so. I think everyone, by the time Saturday rolls around, I think everyone's good to go.
Waxy's back.
I'm good to go. We got training tonight, so I'm sure, or I expect to see everyone there and competing. And if they're not, I'll be there Thursday. And come Saturday, I mean, Saturday's a long way away, so plenty of time to get right if you're not 100%.
Is Swatala carrying something ongoing?
No, not that I know of.
And what about Shaney Mack? Are you enjoying playing with him?
I really am, yeah. I love playing with Shane. He's I've hated playing against him for years and years in the old Siebel competition, but playing with him is great. He's an outstanding point guard. Great vision, great decision maker. He can score. He's just he's very fun and very easy to be teammates with.
We played together under DMAC back in the Melbourne Tigers. Melbourne United days, sorry. And what was your favourite DMAC quote? Because he's got many of them.
Yeah. Geez, where do I start? I better not say too much.
Yeah, you do play him this week.
Yeah,
One of my favourites. You got to play hard.
Yeah, that was always on.
You got to play hard.
Play hard, man. Play hard.
Right, as distinct to what you were planning on doing.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the other game at that same stadium on Saturday night, Nunawading versus Knox in the women. We just talked about how Knox are coming together in the Raiders in the women's side of things, but Nunawading as well, 3 wins in a row. Is a team that we thought would do pretty well over the course of the season. They've climbed up to 4-2 after a bit of a slow start. There's a good challenge for Knox at the Graveyard.
Absolutely, and when you play away, usually you need your role players don't play as well. I think it's known fairly worldwide, universally, your role players tend to play well at home. So for Knox to get the win here, they're going to need those people to step up and continue to score, keep playing good team basketball. But I mean, it's like last week, the game of the week was just a fantastic matchup between two rivals in Eltham and Ringwood. Now we've got another fantastic matchup this week in both the men and the women.
Before we wrap up, I also want to give a shout out to and we mentioned them a little bit before, but the men's COE team, because they had a good win over Albury-Wodonga, who were previously undefeated in Albury-Wodonga, 94-89, and they pushed the Geelong Supercats in Geelong on last Thursday night and went down by just the 1 point. And I really like that team. Some serious talent. When that COE team is coming to town to your local association, check them out, because some future absolute stars of the game lining up in that squad. All right, boys. Well, that pretty much wraps us up. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
Waxy, are you back on the mic this week?
No, I've got to make the trip up to Mackay to go watch my eldest son rep games.
Okay.
So, not this week, but
Catch some QBL while you're up there, maybe?
possibly. I actually got a
Meteors might be an action.
Check out the Meteors.
I actually got a call yesterday to go maybe suit up for Rocky this weekend.
Oh, okay.
Which I said, no, you've got to be kidding.
All right.
Not a chance.
Well, check out the NBL1 on socials. Check out the NBL YouTube channel this weekend to take in all the games, and you can watch Waxy doing his thing against the Raiders.